What's up, party people? It's your boy, Christopher Alexander Robert Clark-Youngblood. I come to you live and direct from Burbank, California. It is Sunday, August 16th, 2026 at 2:44 p.m. Pacific time. Welcome to the new studio, the new home. I've officially moved out of my girlfriend's apartment. What a wild journey it has been in 2026. Many of the details of which I cannot share, but suffice it to say it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. But we're finally settling down, it feels like, into a routine, a state of normalcy. Ironically enough, well, these are details I can't talk about. Things with the girlfriend are fine, we'll say. But it is, she is and was the reason that I moved back to LA. And, now much more of a routine in life is developing. But I'm not going to lie, it's been precarious. Precarious is relative, not like life-threatening. But just like in Western society, dude in his 30s, life planning, life living, this year's felt a little precarious. I'll leave it at that because I talk too much and I'll end up talking too much. Anyway, I'm in my own I'll show you all around my apartment. It is a tiny studio in Los Angeles, Burbank, California, on a very busy street, probably the busiest street in Burbank. You might see the street names. I don't want to divulge the street names exactly, or I'll end up perhaps like MLK, because this place looks like the motel. The apartment building I live in looks like the motel where MLK was shot. I think it was in Memphis by an agent of our own government. Look into that one. That's like confirmed. JFK was definitely assassinated by some sort of conglomeration of CIA and mafia or something along those lines. It definitely wasn't the mainstream narrative. Neither was MLK. In the place, I swear, it's like the first thing I thought of when I saw his apartment building. It's like this old hotel, I think, in Burbank where I live. It's on a very busy street. That's why it was as cheap as it was, at an intersection of honestly, the intersection is probably the two busiest streets in Burbank. Fortunately, one of the east-west facing street, and this is going to reveal what it was, who anyone knows, Burbank, is like also a bike path, walk path. So that's kind of cool, but it's active pedestrian and auto traffic. You can see behind me. It's like this is all that I feared moving back to LA, is like living in congestion and traffic. And it's Burbank. It's nice. It's not that congested, but it's active, dude. But this is part of the journey of life that I'm on right now, as far as embrace, I say the serenity prayer every day, which is, God grant me the serenity to, God grant me this, I always say it's just silence in my head. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and the courage to change the things I can. I think that's it. That's the extent of it, I hope. And this is like one of those things where it's like, given your financial situation right now, your relationship situation right now, you're like, this is your life. Embrace it. Accept it. And I do. Actually, the apartment thus far and having my own space and living by myself, independently on my own for the first time since 2018, I think. 2017, 2018 school year, I taught PE in DC. Sorry, I'll show all the rest of the crib, and I'll get back to that line of thought. And that's it. It's just studio. I have a mattress on the ground. I have a air filter somewhere behind me. There's my closet and bathroom and kitchen all behind me, and that's it. There's the whole apartment. But it's been perfect. There's my inversion table. Keep my back healthy, which has been an issue recently, allegedly. I don't know. Back pain, I've talked about that in recent episodes. There's the bathroom, and then the kitchen. I'm on a laptop right now. My fucking fingers are throbbing from holding it. And that's the kitchen. And that's that, folks. But it's been perfect, and I'm very grateful for it. And it's been nice to have my space. And just getting a routine of life, man, and work. the family that I work for is like right down the street, like quarter mile, and then the adult that I work with is quarter of what's half of a quarter, an eighth of a mile. I mean, I made that up, but like, yeah, it's like a tenth. It's a block that way on the bike path street. So it all feels kind of very fitting. And my girlfriend's salon and businesses are a block, maybe even half a block on the other side of this place. And that was unintentional. This was just like the cheapest, most spacious place. I looked for anything that was like, I want to fit this $1,500, which when I threw like my lease and everything into ChatGPT or whatever LLM that I used, the only like sketchy thing that was coming up is like how cheap the rent was, because it's like a livable. Dude, the rent in LA is crazy. Although I think it's going down. I see more and more space available because I think people are fleeing, especially Burbank, because this is the home of like the movie industry, which I'm sure is being, I don't want to say decimated. I don't want to be negative about it, but completely upended by AI and all that. I don't know. I don't know anything about AI, although I use it for research for this podcast for learning about the universe. But yeah, obviously the movie industry and a lot of industries are changing, and so Burbank being movie industry, I think a lot of people, you need a lot less humans to make movies, I believe these days, and so I feel like the population of Burbank is dwindling, which is actually kind of nice. Hope everyone is able to, adjust and pivot, and find new ways of making money, like myself. We're all humans. There's come a nanny, man. It's livable money. Speaking of which, I don't know why I just said become a nanny. That's a bizarre thing to say, but yeah, there's ways to get creative out there. If your traditional way of making money is taken from you or no longer exists or whatever the correct verbiage is. Anyway. Dude, speaking of work, I've been working a lot this week. 7 days this week. Worked 7 days straight. We got a new baby born. Grandma has left in the family that I work with for. I'm like nervous being right now recording this podcast. I haven't done it in 2 weeks. I feel like off, and in the new apartment, I feel off. I'm like thinking about my words too much. But yes, worked 7 days straight, and then going to the gym at night for a couple hours, and then I do yoga during my kid's nap. So it's been an exhausting week. Trying to do 2 days of training, 1 day off, 2 days of training, 1 day off, get, either kickboxing and in the jiu-jitsu class or 2 jiu-jitsu classes in at night. Do the yoga in the afternoon just to like stay warm and loose. And working like 6:30. So listen, this is all relative, but for me, man, I'm not a big worker, so it's been a lot, but it's been good. I'm grateful for it. Also working with my I don't want to say people's names. I keep saying the kid I work for. I don't want to say people's names. And then the adult I work with down the street, working with him on the weekends. But it's been good, and everything's right here. No commute, anything like that. This is my world. I need to embrace it. I have a year lease now, so regardless of what happens in my personal life, I need to adopt the mentality that this is my life for the next 365 days in Burbank, California. I'm going to do my best to be the best nanny, child care giver that I can for this family, and also learn as much as I can about being the best father that I can to a boy now, and the interaction with now a younger sister, that a newborn baby that has just been born. To be what a grateful, and I'm very grateful experience of being there for, even with JoJo and Emmy. I wasn't there. I was there for Emmy's birth. These are the two girls I took care of for the previous 6 years. I was there for Emmy's birth. I wasn't there for JoJo's birth. I was in Machu Picchu when JoJo. Man, that's kind of tied into some of the stuff I want to talk about. But I was in Machu Picchu when JoJo and Cusco. When Lucas FaceTimed me with JoJo. And that whole time, man, I've been learning a lot about Machu Picchu, not Machu Picchu, but like ancient megalithic structures and stuff. And the mainstream narrative on megalithic structures, Machu Picchu, the pyramids, Göbekli Tepe, all these like megalithic sites where giant structures have been built out of stone, and incomprehensible ways. The mainstream narrative on all that stuff is not true. Those things are way older than we know, and the technologies that we don't know the technologies that existed in order to build those, and kind of the rabbit hole that goes down and what the implications of all of that. But anyway, I was at one of those places visiting Machu. I went way on a rabbit hole of my own or tangent. I was at Machu Picchu or in Cusco, getting ready to go to Machu Picchu the next day when Lucas FaceTimed me with JoJo, and it was several months until I made it to move to LA to start taking care of JoJo. And then Emmy was born. I was there, but I left soon after. Days after she was born, and they didn't need me for a few months because they took leave. So it's been very cool, all that to say, to be here with this new baby from day one, and then also have her 2-year-old, soon to be 2-year-old older brother, and be part of that whole the starting of this new family. It's very cool, and it ties into what I'm studying here and on this podcast, which is the origins of the universe. It's it's all tied in. I'm trying to constantly make the connections between the macro and the micro of studying the birth of the universe. Where did this all come from? Where do we come from? And at the same time being involved in the birth of a new life, and one day being hopefully as prepared as possible for when my own child comes into the world, and hopefully be able to, I don't know, I need to be able to indoctrinate them in some of my conspiracy theories as efficiently as possible. No, I really hope I'm doing my best to make sure my kid is as open-minded, and I don't indoctrinate them at all. I want my kids to be as open-minded as possible, and it's hard, man. It's hard not for you not to just follow the ways of your parents, be it in religion or politics or what have you. So I want to do my best with my kid to make sure I don't know, talk to them about sports and politics, but that's not going to happen. I talk too much. But just questioning what I'm saying, constantly kind of question yourself. Psychedelics help with that. I think smoking weed helps with that. It's kind of good paranoia, like embracing the paranoia of asking questions. Yeah, that is that, man. What else is going on in life? Jiu-jitsu, the World Championships are coming up. I know I've been talking about that in this podcast. I don't know if I'm going to make it, man, for a multitude of reasons. The back is stagnating. It's still kind of omnipresent, but once again, I think some of that is psychological or maybe purely not some. It is some, not all of it, because I do believe I have a back injury that exists. It would be documented with imaging and MRI and everything, but the pain associated with it, I think, is certainly the treatments. Once again, talking about questioning the mainstream narrative. And this is how I started to get red-pilled and open-minded really with all this. It was my back, going to doctors and surgeons who I was told to trust my whole life and are the smartest people, and then just being totally off on the treatment that they're offering you. Not only off as far as the treatment's not going to work, but the treatment's going to be way worse than the current status quo of your injury. And that same thing can apply in psychiatry, not just in your physical health, putting people on medications that they don't need to be on, because then you create an addiction or dependency on these medications or some, So anyway, I'm on Rabbit Hole City today, man, or Tangent City. The fuck are we talking about? Jiu-jitsu, my back. The back is a thing. It's an issue. Also, my work schedule is an issue. I have to take a lot of time off. Not a lot, but a couple of days off, and it's kind of late in the game. I haven't talked to them about it yet, and I'm working full-time just all day, so that'll be a lot. I mean, that's manageable. And then that work compounds with finances. I'm an independent hourly contracted employee. I think my hourly rate is, fair and puts me at an annual earning rate that is not a lot more, but slightly more than where my credentials and education places me as a special education teacher. What the fuck am I talking about, dude? I'm all over the place today. But I'm not a salaried employee. I'm an hourly employee. So if I don't work, I don't make money. It's not like if I were teaching, I'd be like, I need to take a couple personal days. There are no personal days or anything like that. So it's any time I take off, it's compounded. It's not only the cost of traveling in hotels and then competition fees. It's taking time off. Anyway, this is kind of stuff I probably shouldn't talk about on the podcast, or I should maybe filter out of my head. But that's just a factor, as well as the back. as well as the fact, dude, I don't think I'm that super. I don't want too much. Like, I'm confident I'm a high level jiu-jitsu practitioner given my age and weight. All the competitions are like subdivided into your age, weight, and experience level, belt color. So blue belt, 35 to 40-year-old, 220 pounds. I'm confident I can perform well in that area, but I'm not at where, like, my peak of where I would like to be as far as entering competition due to a variety of, just life. But that's why it's so, I really do give credit to anyone who competes in these competitions or any kind of, like, thing, athletic, whatever, endeavor, or I guess, like, passionate pursuit outside of just working or like the standard, like, fucking Matrix life, as when you're an adult, because it's not easy to, like, live in a major city and work full time and then train to an extent that allows you to compete in, like, an international competition in your area of interest, whatever it may be, basket weaving, whatever. It takes time to develop those skills, and then particularly if it's a physical pursuit, particularly if it's a combat sport where the intent is hurting your opponent, those injuries, you're going to experience injuries, which are going to delay in X, Y, and Z, and so compound. So just entering one of these tournaments, competing at all, really people should be commended for doing it, and then winning a medal or certainly winning the tournament altogether is, like, I think truly a really commendable accomplishment. So I don't know if that's going to be me on September, first weekend of September. I need to decide by the end of next week, and I'm kind of leaning towards no right now, if I'm being totally honest, and I feel embarrassed to say that, but it is what it is. There's other tournaments, there's other parts of life. It's kind of like live to compete another day. I don't want to push. Yeah, I don't know. There's other tournaments. There's other tournaments. And it's also getting to a point where it's like, I don't know, you don't want to start to not enjoy what you're doing. And I kind of feel in the last couple of weeks, like, what am I doing? I'm, like, really pushing it. I'm kind of burning the candle at both ends a little bit here. And it's like, I'm starting to enjoy my work. When you burn the candle at both ends, especially, it's sleep, dude. If you're not getting enough sleep, really is what it is at the end of the day, you start to not enjoy all the activities you're involved in, be it your athletic pursuits, or you start to be shittier at them and not enjoy them as much. So it's like finding this balance of exerting your energy in, like, I don't know, not necessarily even ways, but in managing your energy, That's what jiu-jitsu teaches you too, dude, is, like, it's the biggest thing I've learned in 3 whatever years of doing this is, like, managing your energy output. That's the biggest thing, because when you're tired, when you're gassed, man, it doesn't matter. Weight and size still definitely matters, but, like, all those other factors, size of your opponent and skill of your opponent, really start to go out the window once you're tired. It's kind of, the same principle applies to life. I need some agua. 1 second. Sorry, I had to drink some water. Agua. All right, let's get into some universe shit. All right, origins of the universe, cosmic calendar. We've been studying the origins of the universe for the past 12 weeks. We are at, we're going the alleged Big Bang up until modern day. It's like a 14 billion year time span. We're dividing that 14 billion years into 52 weeks, studying roughly 300 million years, right? Yeah, 300 million years of time each week. So this week we're studying the age of the universe, 3.3 billion years to 3.6 billion years. What happened during this time period? And it's been a couple weeks since we've done this, so to set the background on it all, what is happening, what has happened, what is kind of the general, what are the kind of the general bullet points of what is going on in the universe's formation at this point. It's crazy because it's just like, what are we studying here? I'm really interested to get to the point of, like, studying the Earth specifically, and then humanity, because that's, like, I guess, more interesting. Although this stuff is fascinating, I shouldn't say that, but, like, studying kings and queens sounds kind of lame, but like, regime changes and the history of the development of civilization, there's a lot more. It feels like there's kind of more meat on the bone to study. Although I don't get deep into the science with any of this shit. I just want a very general overview. So I'm sure more science inclined people would find all this shit fascinating. Like when it starts to get into fucking, some of this stuff can get really deep, obviously, and dense, and I just want the very general overview. Like, what's happening? Stars, they're making stars. The universe is making stars. And so that's what's going on. Galaxy. Okay, let's set the. Okay, no. We have Big Bang. Okay, the Big Bang occurs. That unleashes this process of basically element formation. The first element being hydrogen. The massive heat and like gravitational force of this time period unleashes or starts a process called reionization. I'm going to go down rabbit holes I really don't know what I'm talking about. Reionization occurs. Anyway, there's basic elements that are in the universe at this point in time. You have a universe full of heavy elements. You have galaxies being formed. You have stars that are composing these galaxies. These galaxies, smaller galaxies are merging with larger galaxies. Same-sized galaxies are merging together. There's a lot of galaxy mergers occurring during this time. Supermassive black hole, so that's like what lies at the center of a galaxy. It's kind of this like almost like evil energy force. I don't want to say evil. It's just overwhelming energy force at the center of the galaxy. It's kind of like consuming everything in the middle of it. When it starts to overeat, it releases a quasar. The quasar, I guess on a telescope observing the distant past of the universe, I think it looks like a giant burst of light. And these are very common during this time period in this is the first quarter of the universe's life. We're at the 3.5 billion year mark. We're going to go to 14 billion years. So yeah, we're about the quarter of the way mark here of the universe's life. The universe is taking on this structure that we keep talking about, this cosmic web structure. And this is I guess it's all, I kind of give this caveat every time. It's like, dude, we could just be in some simulation of like an alien 12-year-old's video game. And so but I guess it's still all relevant if this is like the consensus reality that, I don't know, the greatest intellectuals of our time is saying. It's all we have to go on, dude. Like, before I die, I want to have a basic understanding of like physical reality. And so I have to go on what, I don't know, the main I keep telling everyone to question the mainstream narrative about everything. JFK and MLK and 9/11 and certainly COVID. But when it comes to like, typing into fucking Google about the universe, I'm just accepting the mainstream narrative. So who knows, man? Maybe God built the universe in 7 days, 6 days or something, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 years ago. Maybe. I want to get to that eventually. I want to get to the religious text eventually in the fucking decade long, hopefully, however much time I have left on this earth, I want to get into those religious texts and break those things down as well. And treat that like legitimately, as a legitimate study and investigation. And so this is what I'm doing right now with this kind of material of scientific investigation of universes past. So we've got galaxies growing very quickly. We've got tons of stars forming. We've got supermassive black holes at the center of these galaxies. During this time in the universe's existence, the early stage of the universe's life, it's very active. It's much more active. It's like a bell curve of activity, right? It's kind of starts off, you have a Big Bang, boom, you have early element formation. So the graph is kind of just like activity and creation is kind of starting to rise. And then once you have stars starting to form, you have the universe filled with heavy elements. It's like this kind of rocket ship of activity of star formation, galaxy formation, but as well the accompanying black hole and quasar activity that is eating all of those things. And so you have this constant life and death, mergers of galaxies, star creation, star death, and right now at 3.5 billion years, let's call it, we're kind of at the peak, allegedly, of all of this activity, it seems like. My research I did focuses a lot on what is called cosmic noon, that's peak star formation, and we're sitting in the study of this right now, 3.5 billion years, we're sitting at peak star formation, we're sitting at the top of the bell curve, the top of the roller coaster ride of star formation, but also it seems from what I'm reading, also massive black hole and quasar activity eating all of those stars, and also galaxy formation and galaxy mergers. Galaxies at this time are colliding together at a rapid rate way more than they are today. And where we are today in 2026 is we've now gone all the way down the other side of the bell curve, all the way down the roller coaster, at like the bottom of the roller coaster. And there's way less star activity today, or star formation activity there was in the past. Way less galaxy mergers, way less massive black hole, and quasar activity than there was 10 billion years ago, 11 billion years ago. Woo! So yeah, that's kind of where the background of where the universe is at in week 12 of this study. Let's call it 3.5 billion years. That curve I just spoke about, that's called the Maddow. I just saw this term for the first time this week. It was kind of interesting. It's called the Maddow-Dickinson curve. That curve is just kind of studies the formation of stars, and it's a bell-shaped curve. And in our study, we're at the top of the bell-shaped curve. In actual 2026 reality, we're at the bottom. To put that into like greater numerical terms, and at 3.5 billion years of universe existence, you're talking about hundreds of stars, if not like over 1,000 stars per galaxy per year. So the Milky Way during this time, which does exist, or what is known as like the Milky Way progenitor, more on that in a second, it is forming potentially 1,000 stars a year, whereas today the Milky Way forms like one or two. And I think there's stars. The term was solar masses. I guess not all of those turn into like a star. We've talked about the different types of stars in the past. But yeah, so you're talking about 1,000 stars per year per galaxy 11 billion years ago, and then today, one or two a year. So just way less activity. Apparently, it's going to go down further and further and further. More on that in a second as well. Galaxy mergers. So galaxy mergers at year marker 3.5 billion. They're wet. I love this. They're wet mergers. That means that the galaxies that are merging, they're so wet, man. They're full of gas. They're wet as fuck. They're gassy and wet. I don't really know what that means, but it's just full of gas. I guess there's just way more active gas activity, meaning potential for star formation and planetary body formation than there was than the galaxies that merged today. Dude, it's all of the activity that is happening in the early universe's life is like way more rich than it is today. It's way more active. It's the way I describe it is like that kept coming to me when I was doing my studies is like it's like Bitcoin mining. Most of the Bitcoin it gets harvested early on and it kind of dwindles into like year 2140 when no more Bitcoin will be made. The distinction there with that analogy though is like I believe stars will in theory keep being made for like much longer, or I guess in theory the universe ends at some point, but where Bitcoin there's a defined end. But the analogy still holds. It was way easier to get Bitcoin in 2000 whatever it was when Bitcoin started, 12 or something, and there's increasingly less Bitcoin every year up until year 2140 when no more Bitcoin will be made. And the same thing with star formations, that bell curve. It's not just star formation. Like I said, galactic mergers, so galaxy formation, black hole activity, all of it's way more in the early activity, and it kind of levels off at this bell at the top of the bell curve and then dwindles down to where we are today, and it's still decreasing today. Although it's, activity is still occurring. But the mergers then were wet. They're the galaxies that were merging together, colliding together to form a larger galaxy. Those galaxies were full of much more gas and therefore had much more potential for the formation of, stellar bodies and planetary bodies. Specifically, the merger that formed the Milky Way, the first time I saw this too, is called the Gaia-Enceladus merger. I guess those were the names of the two galaxies that came together that formed the Milky Way, Gaia and Enceladus. Dude, that's what you got to name your kids. Gaia and Enceladus. I think I have those terms right. Gaia, it's kind of a yoga term, so it might be a little overused, especially in LA. But if you move out to Georgia, Gaia might be kind of dope. And Enceladus, are you kidding? That's like too dope. You're trying too hard. But anyway, Gaia and Enceladus, those are the names of the galaxies that merge together to fill in the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is described, there's a disk, right? We see the spinning disk of the Milky Way. You can picture that. It was much thicker back then. I mean, it just had much more, I guess, stars, right? Much more, I don't know, like many more masses within it than it does today. Today, the disk is much thinner. I had a couple questions about all of this, right? We're talking about like peak formation activity. That got me thinking, okay, so now we're at a point where we're at 1 to 2 stellar bodies being made within the Milky Way per year. Does it just keep decreasing to like nothing forms? Does it go like negative and then start like shrinking back in on itself? And this is kind of some of the answers I gather. We're still in what's considered the stelliferous era, meaning full of star formation, although we're much lower star formation, obviously, than we were, in our current period of study at 3.5 billion year mark. What happens after this is called the degenerate era, when activity, I love it, dude. And once again, connecting all the micro to the macro, dude. It's like, okay, is this what happens in a human being's life? Is this what happens in like human civilization life? Do we undergo the same processes where like much of the activity and creation occurs early on in life, and then you kind of reach a point of like peak? You definitely reach a point of peak growth as a human, where like your body and your brain has stopped growing at like 25, let's say at the latest, and then you have, in theory, 3/4 of your life still to live, and so the growth is stopped, although you can still keep putting on mass. You want to get jacked, and you can still keep doing cool shit with your body. And certainly you can still, the activity that you as an individual engage in, I would say, certainly can be much more. Although I look back to my fucking childhood, and dude, just going to school all day and then involved in activities after school, that might have been the busiest time of my life. But, there's people that are way busier than me. They probably should tell me something about the way I live my life. But anyway, what I mean is like human beings continue to be very active far past their physical growth period. Whereas like, I guess the universe, once it's reached more of its peak physical growth period, activity starts to slow more generally. And that's, so I guess we're kind of towards the tail, I don't know specifically, but it seems like we're towards the tail end of the stelliferous era, and we're about to enter the degenerate era of where there's like very little star formation, very little kind of, I guess, formation activity within the universe. All this alleged, I don't, no, this is just the kind of mainstream narrative I'm gathering. And so I'm thinking about that with like human beings. Is that what happens with human beings? Is that what happens with society in general? Like are we at the same point in society today in 2026 as we are in the broader universe's life? Have we done most of our like building and forming and everything, and are we about to enter like a degenerate era? If you go like glass half full on AI and all that shit, you can make that case, right? Like there's going to be no jobs and everyone's just going to be sitting around watching Netflix and like subsisting on, some sort of welfare program. Or not. Or not, man. Listen, I don't know where this shit's going. Maybe like we're all freed up to engage in all of the cool shit and to make as many pottery classes and jiu-jitsu classes and music. We're just free to have more time, right? We just keep grinding away and working like we do. Like we're all kind of like little slaves to the system in a way, if you just, trying to pay the rent or the mortgage and, raise some kids. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to be negative. Life is cool, man. Life is cool. There's tons of fun shit to do with your time here on life, especially if you live in, the Western world. Yeah, and everything is cool with a positive attitude. And friends. I don't really have that many friends, so I need to work on that. And obviously I need to work on positive attitude too, but I try to stay as positive as possible. I am fucking rambling. Okay, what the fuck is else going on? Okay, so I was asking, okay, so like, well, how does this end? Like, where does this end? And I've heard this term heat death before, and I guess that's the primary This next thing I say after telling everyone to stay positive is talking about the universe's heat death. Don't worry, guys. Heat death is not the only theory of death for the ultimate end of the universe's existence. There's also called like the Big Crunch and the Big Rip, which I guess are kind of self-explanatory, like what ultimately happens to the universe at the end. But theoretically it dies, right? In some sort of heat death or Big Rip. But apparently we are like, this is my question too. Like, so where are we right now in the like percentage of the timeline of life? So if the universe is going to theoretically live to like 100 years old, if the universe is 100 years old, are we like 10 years old right now? And how old we were in our period of study, you know? And the math, I guess, gets a little tricky because there's no known end. There's just like theoretical speculation based on star formation. And I guess mathematical speculation about like the amount of like gas and elements that exist in the universe. So this is where it gets like, okay, how the fuck could you possibly know? And no one does. But I guess kind of the most generally accepted theory on physicists is heat death. Like, I guess the universe gets too hot and everything burns up. I didn't go too deep in the weeds on that. I really was kind of more interested in like, okay, so were you like halfway? According to the bell curve of like the star formation, that's what we got to be thinking about. We're on the bottom of the bell curve. I was like, wait, so were we at like the like end of the fourth quarter of this game? Are we halfway through the end of the fourth quarter? Or are we at the beginning of the fourth quarter? But it sounds no, actually we're still like the very beginning of the first quarter. Now, how much of that time period, I didn't go too deep in this, would the universe be like habitable for life? And like, what does life even exist? Like, look like at that point? Do we even have like physical bodies? Are we like existing on pure consciousness or something? I don't fucking know. These are all very speculative and weird questions, but that's kind of just the place I like to put my brain in. Especially when I'm smoking a little reefer. So the math gets weird, dude. You can make the case, I guess, during some mathematical calculations that we're like at 0%, right? It's going to live like a lot longer. So even 14 billion years, we are in 2026, is like is nothing in the long-term life of the universe. Other math, I guess, puts it kind of at 10%. We're kind of 10% in 2026 of the way the universe is life. But I feel like I've heard differently, so I need to maybe investigate that more. I certainly do. I'm sure those questions will come up more as I continue the studies of all this shit. But then I was like, okay, so in our personal like podcast study here at the 3.5 billion year mark, of the cosmic calendar that we're studying, where are we? And it's like 9.5%, which is weird math because you think, okay, at the 3.5 billion year mark of the universe's life, that's what we're studying right now. In 2026, we're like the 13.8 billion year mark or something along those lines. So that's like times 3, times 2.5, times 3. It's a multiples, right? So you'd think this is so confusing. Stay with me. If 3.5 billion years of the universe's life represents 9.5% of what will ultimately be the whole universe's life, you would think then, my stupid brain was like, oh, then you multiply it by 3 to get this percentage of where we are now. And so we're like 27%, right? Like the 27% mark of the ultimate universe's life in 2026. But no, once again, the math is weird, I guess, because we don't know the end and there's so much time left that really we're at like 10.1% theoretically. This is all so theoretical and fucking ridiculous. I can't believe I'm going on this. This is ultimate like stoner fucking. I don't even know. This is just like, I don't know. Maybe it's legitimate. I don't fucking know. But it's an interesting thought experiment. So at 3.5 billion year mark, the Cosmic Calendar podcast study is 9.5% of the universe's life. In 2026, even though it's 2.5% as much time has passed, we're still only at the 10.1% mark of the universe's life. That was fucking bizarre. Maybe I should have left that bullet point out of my notes. Anyway, yeah. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to there was like the Bitcoin mining analogy. Seems like most of the activity in physical body formation of the universe occurs way early on in life, much like Bitcoin mining, where the most fertile time for harvesting Bitcoin was at the earliest stage, which I guess is still now because I don't know the full details of Bitcoin, so the analogy gets a little weird. But anyway, most of the activity is happening early on in life and growth. is happening early on in the universe's life. And then we get to enter the degenerate era, which is my favorite era. I'm a bit of a degenerate myself. That's it for this week. That was fucking. I went on kind of wild tangents. Not enough caffeine. I did have a lot of caffeine today, but I already trained. So the brain is a little depleted. Haven't eaten all day, but that's because I've been binging on Ben and Jerry's all weekend. I guess that's it. Sports. Football season is coming. It is August 16th. Football season is second weekend of September. I think college football will kick off like the good game, legit games the first weekend of September, and then football kick off. It's always on like 9/11. Dude, there's so much wild shit happening in the world. I can't wait to get up to modern day discussion of reality because there's so much shit happening in the world. But it's cool. Everyone knows about that shit and is inundated with all that shit. Epstein. I want to go off about Epstein so bad, but I won't. It'll detract. Epstein and 9/11. I'll just put that thought bubble out there. Epstein and 9/11. Look into it. Yeah. And megalithic structures. That's another big thing on my mind. Aside from fucking conspiracy theories, government corruption, fucking the fact that I think demons may actually exist and perhaps running the world. Like, or certain like demonic influence of some kind. I hate to sound like super, I don't know, elementary or like archaic in the talk of like demons and like ignorance and like religious fundamentalism or something. But dude, I'm starting to think some of that shit's legit. Man, I hope hell does not exist. Oh God, I hope hell does not exist. I had that thought when I was when I was sliding down that fucking mountain a few weeks ago. Really thinking there's a legitimate chance I was about to die. I like blocked that on my memory, and I think about it every now and then. Like maybe once a day, and I'm like, God damn, dude, I almost died on this fucking mountain. Oh, man, I was thinking about heaven and hell then, man. Kind of. Really focusing on, like, staying alive, but, you know, those thoughts across my mind, like, fuck. It didn't, obviously. It wasn't, anyway. I hope hell doesn't exist, brother. Not that I think, like, I don't know. I don't have it in my brain, I think, to go down that rabbit hole right now, but it'd be dope if there's not like I don't know. Maybe it's very egoistic to be say like dope to continue some kind of conscious experience beyond this life. Maybe that's like super childish and egotistical to say. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably like very narcissistic. I don't know. But yeah. Well, dude, my mind just went off. That's going to be it for this podcast. I will get into a lot of those topics on future episodes. But yeah, don't trust the mainstream narrative about a lot of stuff except what I tell you about the universe. And like specifically the megalithic structures are, I think, a really cool thing to look into, and I'll definitely going to talk about it more. Oh, and back to like my JoJo, man. Just like the path of life reason, I've been learning a lot about these megalithic structures. Like I said, things like the pyramids in Egypt and Machu Picchu, I think, are in Peru, are kind of like some of the most well-known ones. And we're kind of taught that these things are built by like human beings with primitive tools that we don't have any evidence of, through like grit and force, and it just doesn't make sense talking about physics. It just doesn't add up. They're way older than we think they are, and they're not built by the cultures we think they were built by. Those cultures came later and either built on top of them or claimed them as their own, or sometimes in some cases didn't claim them as their own. These structures exist around the world. There's a lot of them, and a lot of them have been discovered, which is crazy to think that there's like other Machu Picchus and shit out there that have been like buried by the sands of time, literally, or underwater, literally, or deep within a highly dense forest. And a lot of these things can reveal. Investigation of these can reveal unknown truths about human history. And eventually the timeline of my personal study in this podcast is going to meet up to that point of ancient human history. And man, the whole trajectory of where I'm right now of living in LA and being a nanny in some way was launched by these megalithic structures. I know that sounds crazy, but there's an incredible energy around these places. I can only speak about Latin American structures, but I've been to a number of these ancient sites in Mexico, Central America, and South America, specifically Peru, being my last venture. My life used to be dedicated kind of around working and then just traveling, like disappearing and backpacking. And the last time I did that, I started in Panama, traveled in Panama, Colombia. I've been in Ecuador on my previous trip, just Panama, Colombia, and then through Peru for about 6 weeks. And I ended the trip, or decided to end the trip in Cusco when Lucas FaceTimed me with JoJo. And the following day I was going to go up to Machu Picchu, and I did. And then I went the following day after that, I went to another site called Ollantaytambo, which has got some insane fucking unexplainable architecture. Architecture? I don't know if that's the right word. Construction? I don't know. Structures, human-made structures, or fucking something-made structures. I don't know if humans made them or not, man. Anyway, I was doing yoga up there on this like hillside inside of some of these structures, and that's when I made the decision I was going to come back home. And like at the time I decided I had going to LA ultimately on my mind, but I had to make a stop in DC to chase down a girl at the time. And I really just want to work as a personal trainer. But I kind of knew in the back of my mind I was going to move out to LA and be Lucas's nanny. And that's the same path I'm on now. And due to how much I love JoJo Nimi and Lucas and Sue in that whole situation, and also due to COVID, like I stopped, travel got shut down. That whole part of my brain got turned off. That was kind of what I was thinking of moving to LA originally, was I was going to work as a nanny for a year or two and then go back traveling. COVID happened. It seemed like at some point that was never going to be an option. Once again, just a reminder for everyone, COVID was created in a laboratory, either intentionally or unintentionally released upon the human population, either intentionally or unintentionally, or best case scenario, most charitable evaluation, government and mega corporations, specifically pharmaceutical companies, conspired to lock down the globe and essentially forcibly vaccinating everyone with an experimental medication that ultimately has caused more harm than good, all the while completely gutting the middle class and transferring trillions of dollars from hardworking Americans to corporate elites, potentially demons. That's a fucking true story. And really the only question is whether or not it was all completely intentional, or if this demonic conglomeration of mega corporations and politicians or deep state actors just took advantage of an unfortunate situation, which was caused by the government and mega corporations because they're conducting gain-of-function research, which is making diseases more deadly than they already are in an unsecure laboratory next to a giant fucking market full of animals and peasants. Sorry, I don't want to call them peasants. And, poor people. That's what they decided to conduct their, evil disease enhancement experiments in an unsecure laboratory. Anyway, that's COVID. That, shut down the idea of kind of traveling in my head. But anyway, I need to get back to these megalithic structures. I didn't have this understanding of, like, I kind of bought the mainstream narrative, like, oh, the Incas built Machu Picchu. No, they did not. So I would love to go back and visit all these places and get back on the road, traveling around the world, investigating these sites and studying the course of human civilization, and kind of complete that full circle journey of my life and the trajectory it's been on. At some point, we've got a lot of time left on this planet Earth. Well, that's my plan, at least, trying to go as long as possible. And this podcast has gone as long as possible. I love you all so much. I will hopefully, now that my life is kind of more in a routine, and, you know, I'll hopefully be at you weekly. That is the goal. Weekly. And potentially, you know, we're just going to focus on weekly for now. I love you all. Have an excellent week. Namaste.